The greatest mistake a man can make is being afraid of making one. Now, can I get a show of hands of people that think that they're perfect, completely perfect? Now, can I get a show of hands of people that have actually made at least one mistake in your life? Well, I am definitely not perfect, and I've made countless mistakes in my life. I think my earliest recollection of me actually making a grave error was when I was around 6 to 7 years old. I was in Mexico, in Monterrey, and it was just me and my mom in the house. My dad was at work, and my sister was at school. I'm not really sure why I wasn't at school, but let's move past that. My mom was on her phone, and me being the bored and curious 6-year-old that I was, I decided to explore every single wardrobe in the house. Now, as I was exploring, I stumbled upon a stapler. Now, get this. I had the bright idea to put my fingers together like this and staple them. Some of you may be laughing, and some of you may think I'm dumb, rightfully so, but I genuinely thought at 6 years old that this was a good idea. And well, we all know what happened next. I stapled my hands, which proceeded to me crying, which proceeded to my mom entering my room. It began with screaming on my end, then screaming on my mom's end, and then a little bit of first aid, and then finally it ended off with more screaming, but this time in the form of scolding on my mom's end. Since the dawn of human civilization, mistakes have been time and time again associated with negative connotations. Don't mess up, or don't make too many mistakes. We have been taught that mistakes are unwelcome and something we should avoid so that when we go out into the real world, we don't mess up. But it's ironic, really. How does one execute a task as close to perfection as possible if they haven't experienced the incorrect way to do it first? For example, we all know that we should study for exams, but think, why do we know that we have to study for exams? Granted, if you ask your teacher, "Ma'am, why do I need to study for my exam?" they'll most likely give you a deathly stare and kick you out of the class. So please don't do that. But we know to study for exams because we all at some point in our lives either forgot to or didn't study for our exam, and afterwards we most likely barely passed that exam or failed it. So due to a mistake we made, we have forever learned a life lesson: study for your exams. This is applicable throughout our lives. There's so many simple do's and don'ts that we follow, and the origin of our obedience to said do's and don'ts come from the mistakes associated with them and the negative drawbacks we've experienced from them. Why do we look both ways when crossing a road? One day you almost got run over by a car, and henceforth you've always looked both ways before crossing a road. A mistake. Why do we blow on a bowl of freshly served hot soup before drinking it? Well, one day you almost burnt your tongue trying to drink it, and henceforth you've always waited before hastily drinking a bowl of freshly served hot soup. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. Hey, this guy in this TEDx I watched told me it's okay to make mistakes, so I'm going to go fail my boards. No. The whole premises of what I'm saying is if you are by chance to make a mistake, you need not feel bad, rather feel grateful that you've stumbled upon a golden opportunity to learn. But enough talk about making your own mistakes. What about the beauty in achieving perfection by learning and observing from other people's mistakes? Who here loves fish cake? Now, have you ever sat and pondered, how was fish cake actually invented? Did someone just crush up a piece of fish and make a cake shape out of it and woohoo, fish cake? No. For this story, we have to go back to the Qin dynasty of China. At the time, the emperor of the Qin dynasty was called Qin Shi Huang. He was a brutal and ruthless emperor, and he united the people of China and laid out the initial construction stages for the Great Wall. Another interesting fact about him is his weird rule, and that was that he would not eat any fish dish served to him with bones in them. And if bones were found in the fish, the chef that created said meal would be executed. And I thought IB was a lot of pressure. Unlike, as time went on, chefs after chefs were executed as they accidentally left in a small bone or two. But one chef observed a fatal mistake all these other chefs were making. Instead of blacklisting the bones from the fish itself, why not incorporate it in the dish in an edible manner? So this chef crushed up the fish alongside with its bones, stuck it inside a soup dumpling, and created the dish we all love so dearly, fish cake. Unlike the other unfortunate chefs that did not have that availability of a chance to learn from their mistakes, this chef decided to learn from the mistakes of others. Instead of potentially committing a mistake and costing his own life, he observed and prevented himself from falling into the same fate that many were doomed or already had fallen into. It's crucially important that we all understand that learning from other people's mistakes can be as equally as valuable as learning from your own. And this is exactly what that chef did, and this is exactly what we all should be doing. Instead of laughing at someone or jeering at someone for making a mistake, we should not only encourage them to learn from their mistake, but also join them in that learning process so that we never may make a mistake like that again. It's funny though. The word mistake can be a synonym for wrongdoing. Keyword wrong. I find this funny because there are so many things today that we use that have such an unquantifiable usage when they were looked down upon or seen as mistakes when they were originally discovered. Penicillin. Penicillin is something we all know and love. It's essentially a group of antibacterial drugs that combat different various bacteria. Penicillin has saved millions of lives, and it's considered as a major breakthrough in the medical industry. Now, what if I told you that penicillin was discovered by accident? Penicillin was made by mistake. Alexander Fleming in 1928 came back home from his vacation to discover a mold growing in his petri dish, a petri dish that he forgot to clean out. A mistake. This very mistake led to the discovery of said mold fighting back different various bacteria, and after much development and manufacturing, Alexander Fleming created the drug we all know, penicillin. Mistakes are often frowned upon and seen as negative, which they do tend to be, but in very particular cases, they are not what they seem. They can be completely the opposite, or your very mistake can lead you on a path to discover something new. Mistakes are things that happen to us and things that we do on a daily basis. And you would be lying to yourself if you said that you didn't make at least one mistake every single day, whether that be remembering to feed the cat or remembering to turn off the lights after using the bathroom. Change for the better is what's important. Even though people tell you, hey, don't make mistakes, even though your parents say, never ever make mistakes, we should not always adhere to what others say, as mistakes can flourish into something beautiful and something that we can learn from. The chef that cooked the fish dish for Qin Shi Huang, he has learned something. Alexander Fleming, he has learned something. All of you sitting here today, regardless of how big or small of a mistake you have made, you have learned something. And even I have learned something. Because I am proud to announce to all of you sitting here today that since that fateful day in Mexico, for the past 12 years, I have not stapled my hands, not even once. Thank you.